Hello everyone and welcome to today's Interact with InterAction webinar, Legal Digital Marketing, Lessons Learned, and the Path Forward. My name is Billy Burnett. I'm a marketing manager at LexisNexis and will be your host for today's webinar. Before we get started, I have a couple of quick housekeeping items to review. This webinar is being conducted in listen-only mode, so in order to ask questions during today's webinar, please utilize the questions box in the GoToWebinar panel. Given today's format of a more question and answer type, we will be addressing questions as they come in and certainly saving some time at the end. So please be sure to submit your digital marketing questions into the questions box as they come to mind. We expect this webinar to last approximately 30 minutes, and we are recording today's session, so you'll receive a link along with a copy of the slides in the next few days. Next, I'd like to introduce today's presenter. Michelle Woodyer is a client advisor with LexisNexis InterAction. Prior to joining LexisNexis, she developed the digital marketing and social business strategies for an Am Law 100 firm, where she transitioned the firm to targeted digital campaign management and inbound marketing. She also implemented marketing automation and analytics tools to measure the ROI of marketing initiatives. Her innovative social media outreach and internal training program for attorneys led to her firm's ranking among the top 10 programs at Am Law 100 firms by Good2Be Social. So, with that said, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Michelle to discuss today's agenda.
Thanks, Billy, and thank you all for joining us today. We'll briefly cover a number of different items. We'll talk about what I see from your peer firms and what they're doing in digital marketing. I have the opportunity to work with hundreds of law firms, and I can see from my work with them what trends are becoming and who's doing what best. Talk a little bit about digital marketing techniques that are used outside of the legal industry that you can repurpose for legal. All of digital marketing, of course, technology is important, so we'll talk about developing a technology strategy and what you should have in your technology stack. And then we'll talk a little bit more about other tools that you can use to succeed. And then finally, much of this presentation is based on questions that were sent in when you registered, and continue to ask questions as we go through the different topics if you want me to dive a little bit deeper.
All right, thanks, Michelle. So we'll go ahead and get into our first question, which you alluded to in your agenda. What are innovative law firms doing today?
So the first thing I see firms doing is focusing on personalization. People today are just overloaded with the sheer amount of information available online. You know, Google has made a business of curating content for you so you get better search results. And this is what consumers online have come to expect. So your digital messages from your law firm need to be personalized and curated for your audience. So the days of spray and pray email marketing campaigns are just done. You can't do that anymore. When you do that, your message becomes noise. You need to send the right messages out to everyone, and the only way to do that is through your CRM system. You have to have great CRM data that you can segment based on the content strategy that you create. So personalization, it's not just for email marketing. You should also consider your website, blogs, and all your other digital assets, and making sure that the customer experience on those assets are personalized as well. And I wanted to give you one quick example of how I've seen some firms using personalization. One firm would have personalization based on the practice group that the website visitor was a client of. So for instance, if it was a real estate practice group, they might show them the newest partner that joined that group, their latest piece of thought leadership, maybe one of their big wins or deals that they finished, and maybe a specific blog posting. So in order to do personalization effectively, you need to develop key client profiles for each one of your practices within the firm and those firms that, and those practice groups that you're particularly targeting business growth in. The next thing that I see is the focus on intelligent content strategy. And this is a term that was coined not too long ago, and I'll define it for you. Many of you may be hearing it for the first time. Intelligent content strategy is involving delivering the right information to the right customers in the right format at the right time throughout the customer journey. So this doesn't mean we make one piece of content and we keep throwing it back at people. There's different content for different stages of the buying journey. So if it's just the first time you're talking to someone or meeting them, maybe you're giving them a firm overview. But if they've been to different webinars, they've visited your practice group pages, the content that you're going to send to them at that point is much different than a firm overview. So you need to make sure that this content is personalized for the audience and the stage of the buying journey that they're on. Intelligent content is also reusable. It can be output to multiple channels. You adapt to the needs of the channel for your recipients. A lot of times this can be automated. And this is really important to be able to really take advantage of digital. Many marketers are frustrated within law firms. At the previous firm I was at, I had mapped out, when I first got there, I mapped up all the steps that the marketing team had to take to do a digital campaign. They had to cut and paste content from 6 or 7 different tools to do a digital campaign. And then they were extremely frustrated at the end of that because all of the analytics and data were siloed, so they couldn't take a comprehensive look at everything that was happening and figure out what content strategy was working best and make adjustments and identify prospects and lead score. So all these disparate systems led to these silos of data that never became information for them. The next thing I see firms doing is concentrating on digital marketing campaign development, making sure that they're combining these key client profiles with intelligent content strategy. And then they're looking at how to develop campaigns that produce measurable results. To do all of this, you absolutely need to invest in technology. We all know that law firms didn't quite jump on the digital bandwagon until about 3 or 4 years ago. So they're a bit behind, but they're beginning to understand the need for digital. And they're looking towards other industries to see how to leverage it, specifically the Big Four. I see a lot of firms looking towards the big firm to see how to leverage digital information. The next thing is being able to increase their spend on technology. Gartner studies say that marketing budgets are 33% of them, or about a third, are earmarked for tech. So about 35% for labor, another third for advertising, paid search, and consultants, and the third for technology. So large investments in technology outside of the legal industry. Also outside of the legal industry, there's a trend towards hiring chief marketing technologists. About 80% of companies have now a chief marketing technologist. And this chief marketing technologist, the CMO, and the CIO all work together closely to improve the overall customer experience across all the channels. So law firms will have to make some investment in technology to catch up. You'll know it'll be a multi-year process, but you'll eventually get where you want to go. And then finally, because of all this investment in technology, firms are being required, the best firms are being required to measure return on investment and show how this technology has improved their marketing initiatives.
All right, so let's go ahead and move into our next question. And this one was submitted prior to the webinar. So Michelle, how do you determine ROI or other effectiveness of digital campaigns?
Well, I think it very much goes down to understanding what the desired outcome was from your particular campaign. Was it to increase awareness, promote attendance at an event, or grow a brand in a certain industry? Once you understand the desired outcome, then you develop the metrics to measure ROI. One thing that I've seen is that firms are starting to hire staff with the skills and abilities to analyze data. A lot of folks in traditional marketing or business development roles don't necessarily have big data analytics skills. So looking to enhance and improve their staff with people with new skill sets, often hired from outside of legal. Now, once you start to measure ROI, these folks can develop actionable insights. So they might develop a lead scoring algorithm for a particular set of campaigns that can help whittle down a large amount of prospects into some very, very good leads that are actionable to take to the attorneys. And And I can give you a couple examples of those as well.
I think that feeds very well into the next question, Michelle, which was, can you give an example? And this was also submitted online in advance, so we appreciate the questions.
Sure, I'd love to. I have lots of examples, but I think the one that resonates most with folks was when I was at my previous firm. I was working with a particular attorney who wanted to grow his business, and it was a challenge for him because his specialty was extraterritoriality. And after I Googled that to find out what it meant, I learned that he was focusing on businesses that were incorporated outside the United States but doing business in the United States and the laws that govern those businesses. And his target prospects, he was focusing on Chinese and German companies. And he wanted to do a series of webinars in multiple languages to work with these companies. So we created a couple webinars and some campaigns that we use different marketing lists from our different offices to and use social to promote these campaigns. And we had a great turnout. We had over 400 people attend these webinars. But that's too much. That's really too much for him to do anything with. He was super excited and glad, but he didn't know what to do next. So the next piece was to nurture these attendees to see who was really engaging and who really might be a good prospect to follow up with. So we scheduled some follow-up. We sent them some additional content. We watched who read the content, who visited his bio page, and we whittled it down to about 40 good leads for him. And we sat down together with his business development person. We brought the leads in, and he picked out four to seven opportunities to reach out to and talk to. And he resulted in a few engagements, one of them pretty significant. So that's how you measure return on investment. You start with a campaign, but you have to follow it through all the way to the end. And we can definitely tie these engagements to that webinar campaign that we did for this particular partner.
Great. Thanks, Michelle. So moving on to our next question, what digital marketing elements are most critical?
This is a great question. The first answer, and I'm just putting it up here because if you don't have a mobile responsive website yet, you really need to get one. And if you're not there, make plans to get there by the end of the year. If you really need to know the reasons why, just Google it. You'll find out. Google is really driving the traffic to sites that are mobile and responsive and ignoring sites that are not today. I also see a lot of firms starting to develop mobile apps specific for practice groups. A lot of interesting apps out there and guides that can be used by their customers. So thinking about technology in a little bit different ways, how can you give content in a different way to your clients through a mobile app? The next thing that absolutely has to be developed, and I've mentioned a few times earlier, are these key client profiles. The client profiles should be developed for your firm. I've seen a lot of firms' websites, and I look through the content and sort of analyze it, and it looks like the firm is trying to be everything to everyone. And I know some of this comes from politics with partners and different practice groups, but you really need to figure out what areas you're going to concentrate and work with those partners in that area to develop your ideal client profiles. That informs your intelligent content strategy and how you'll reach out to your audience. I have to chuckle. I've often spoke with another CMO who is an expert on content strategy, and she says sometimes you can just swap practice pages out from one firm to another because basically they all sound alike and don't differentiate the firm. So making sure you understand what your audience wants to hear and then concentrating your message to that audience is key, is critical. The next piece is making sure everyone is involved in digital. It doesn't work if it's just messages pushed out from your law firm LinkedIn site and large, broad marketing lists that are, aging 10, 15 years old. You need to make sure that everyone is participating, that their contacts are all up to date, that you're reaching out to the people that they're currently doing business with. Social media participation should be from individual partners and at all levels of the firm. Everyone better be on LinkedIn by now. If they're not, they're losing opportunities for business. Many studies and GCs I've heard speak at different events all say that they're qualifying referrals and leads they get, looking at the attorneys on LinkedIn and getting a sense of who they are and if they're someone they want to do business with before they even make those, before they even start reaching out. The other piece is making sure everyone understands the value of sharing content to their own social networks. Sharing out through LinkedIn, you can make that easy. There's applications that you can build to or buy to serve up content to the partners based on certain tags, whether it's practice group or industry, any type of way you would segment your content. The content strategist would provide that content and notify partners in the firm to share it out. Making it easy. Maybe it's a weekly email. Here's all the articles for the firm. Here's all the articles for your practice group. Here's all the articles for your industry that you can share out on social media. Helping them to schedule it and put it out there is very important. I've had a lot of work with folks back in 2012, 13, and 14 when people were starting to get on LinkedIn and trying to encourage them to get on LinkedIn. So if you're having issues with getting people on LinkedIn, it's really something you should focus on changing. And then measuring. Having success, sometimes failure dashboards are really key. And you can't just create these dashboards and put them aside. You need to make sure that someone's reviewing the dashboards, and that someone needs to be key stakeholders in the firm. It needs to be management people, and they need to understand what you're measuring and why and what it means for the firm. You'll probably need someone who has some data analytics skills to put these dashboards together, who understands what the data they're looking at and what's important. And you'll be pretty surprised at how dashboards and measurement can drive specific behaviors. When I was at my last firm, we were trying to get partners to report opportunities they had with their different clients. And we were tracking them in a dashboard by practice group, and they were shown to the managing partner in the monthly management report. And I got a call after that telling me, well, did you put that together? Why does my practice group only show 11 pitches? We did 15 pitches last week. And I'm like, well, did you put them in the system? And he's like, what system? And I'm like, and it really drove that behavior of having transparency across the firm so that everyone was inputting all their information to the system, so we could make sure that everyone across the firm knew what was happening with each one of these key clients. So it does drive behavior, but you have to make sure that you have buy-in from your top stakeholders to review those metrics.
All right, time for our next question from the audience. What key pieces of technology do we need? Okay, well, all you need is an old email marketing list and some broadcast email tool, right? Well, not anymore. I think digital marketing, even at law firms, has expanded beyond just the marketing list and broadcast email. A lot of broadcast email is getting blocked nowadays, so you have to be more creative, and that's why social channels are coming into play. So the first part we're going to start with is CRM. CRM is the building block or the foundation of any digital marketing strategy. You need to track your customers' preferences. And without good client data, you don't know what messages to send to whom and how they're interacting with it. And if you don't know that, you wouldn't know which ones might be good prospects to approach about upselling another practice group, or maybe new targets that you're interacting a lot with that you might be able to bring into bring business deals into the firm. The next piece is ERM. And ERM systems do a few things for you. First, if they're good, they'll help automate all this contact maintenance I was just talking about and keep the CRM system up to date. They, in law firms, this is probably information contained within your attorney's email. And it's in the form of incoming emails in their signature lines. So a good ERM system will monitor what's coming in and update contacts and add new contacts based on who your attorneys are communicating with.
Second, ERMs help you understand relationships with your customers and how they're using your services. When you begin to mine data, when you start personalizing all of your digital assets and putting that, writing that information back to your CRM system, you can start to look at who might be a prospect and mine the data from your ERM system and identify opportunities and who is most engaged with these different customers. So it might be the best one to make an introduction or approach about expanding the business. And it also will help you maintain and retain your existing clients. By knowing who they are, by sending them better content, by having content strategies that are made for them, you provide more value to them. If you have client alerts and they're on point and you're sending these out, you provide more value to these customers. And as a result, they'll be happier customers. One Harvard study I looked at said firms can increase profits by 25% by just retaining 5% more of their clients. So ERMs help you know your client, improve the client experience, ultimately for the goal of keeping the existing clients you have and then expanding beyond that range as well. So once you have CRM, ERM in place, the next piece is marketing automation tools. So there's a lot of tools in the market. The best tools let you create messaging once and share it across all the channels. Potentially the message will be created in a CMS or content management system. Often this might be your website system, WordPress, Drupal, Sitecore, Teleron. Those are all examples of content management systems. Then those messages can be shared out through broadcast email, can be pushed out to social channels, and so forth. The marketing automation tools also provide the data analytics that you'll use to measure the success of the campaigns that you're sending out. So when you combine the data, you'll begin prospecting, and you'll be combining that data for those marketing automation tools with your CRM and ERM data to identify targets and do lead scoring. So how do you prospect or do lead scoring? So what you'll look at is, did they attend an event? Did they watch a webinar? Did they visit a practice page? Did they read a bio page? Did they come back to that page multiple times? So you can start, many of these CMS tools will allow you to start scoring those events. And you can set up, when those scores add up to a certain total, you can start getting that information back to you. And this is the prospecting piece of it. So once you score all these activities and they reach a certain level, you can flag them and start evaluating them as a prospect. Now, wouldn't it be great, and this be the ultimate goal for all of us in our digital campaigns, is to walk into a lawyer's office and say, hey, I have this prospect for you. It's a GC. It's at a large company, and they're a client of our real estate practice group. But you know what? They've been looking at your bio and your employment and some of our employment law practice pages. And you know what? They've even signed up on that webinar we've been promoting on the site about hostile workplace laws. So I think this is a really good prospect. I think I looked in the ERM system and I saw that Sue in the real estate group has a really strong relationship with this prospect. So maybe we should reach out to Sue and put together a plan to see if maybe we have an opportunity to upsell and pull this GC into our practice group. So wouldn't it be great if you can do something like that? Now, it sounds hard, and it isn't really hard. Everyone in other industries has been doing this for a long time, but it is a little bit different to apply those techniques that are proven in other industries when they're selling widgets to how you sell legal services. But the ultimate goal is to sit back and start to look at the tools and resources you have now, put together a multi-year plan for where you want to get, and then start building out that strategy to get there. So, you know, when you're able to bring in qualified prospects, then that's winning, and that's when you really achieve the return on investment of all this technology that you're putting in place together.
All right. On to our next question. How can I engage my attorneys in digital marketing?
This is a great question. There's a couple of ways to go about this. First of all, I think I would find who in your firm is already engaging and sit down with them or give them a call and ask them why they're doing it and what value they're getting out of it. I guarantee you'll get a few success stories that you can share with the rest of the firm. You know, I found that lawyers will do anything if it brings in business. I once asked a lawyer what his ideal client looked like, and he said anyone that would hire me. But when you can bring them solid reasons why they should do X and Y, they'll participate. So sit down with folks that are maybe on the fence about getting involved in social media and ask them, what are they trying to do with their clients? Do they want to improve their brand? Do they want to be seen as an expert in some areas? Maybe they're a litigator and they want to showcase their talents. Social is a good way to get that word out. And you can, just like I came up with that companion for that attorney whose specialty was extraterritoriality, you can sit down with them and come up with a campaign that meets their needs. And then finally, one thing that I did at my firm that was really successful was an Ask the Expert group at our practice group retreats, our multi-day meetings, and of course at our partner meeting, our annual partner meeting. We talked a little bit about digital marketing at a high level, social media, and participating in with it, and a lot of attorneys were intimidated. So we offered an Ask the Expert booth where they can come up and get one-on-one help. And we staffed it with BD folks, some IT people, myself, and I was there. And we sat down and talked to partners about what their concerns were around social and how to get involved and how it could help them grow their business. And I'll just share one story with you because I think the stories always help bring it home on how you actually can engage with these partners. So the one partner worked for a manufacturer of equipment for the cycling industry, and it was his biggest customer. And I said, well, let's look them up. Let's look up their company Twitter page. And when we found on their Twitter page was a link to an article showcasing their CEO. And we read through the article, and he found out, amazingly enough, that he went to the same high school, albeit many years before this actual CEO was in high school. So he was going to meet with him in a few weeks. What great information. He had all this background on the CEO, and then he can connect on the level and say, look, guess what? We went to the same high school together. And that's what you can do on social media from the listening aspect. By watching and listening for your key clients, you might identify opportunities where they need your services. I mean, if you were the attorney for outside counsel for United Airlines or American Airlines recently, maybe you would identify some needs for them to have some outside legal help. But I mean, I'm just being a little flip there. But you can learn more about a company on Twitter. Not just by what they're posting, but what people in the market are saying about them as well. So absolutely have them follow their key clients on social media and occasionally look at what they're doing there. And I'll tell you what's important to them.
All right, going on to our final question. We just have a couple of minutes left. So our last question is, how can I convince others who control budget that digital marketing is important?
Well, you can't do a whole lot if you don't invest in technology, as I mentioned before, and so this is a great question. Depending on your firm's culture and management team's view of technology, it can really be a challenge. I've come across some really tech-savvy attorneys, but by and large, you'll have to do some education on why digital is important. Just like you're coming to this webinar today to learn about it, they also will need to learn about it. Hopefully everything I covered previously will help you in that, but I also suggest you looking out to blogs and other experts in legal marketing and putting together a story that you can share with your firm. And oftentimes, when I first started talking about this at my firm, there might have been some eye rolling going on because it was a new concept, and there was a lot of pushback on whether or not this was really something that others were doing in the market. And I found I couldn't get a big firm-wide initiative going, so I started small. I did a quick pilot. I worked with a group of a practice group that was really focused on business development. They had a bunch of new laterals come over, and they had some really solid business development plans. I sat down with them, and we put together some digital plans for them as well. You can use a tool like Acton or HubSpot, some different marketing automation tools. They're pretty expensive that you can subscribe to for a couple months to do a proof of concept. So you pull your data out of your CRM system and start to understand how people are interacting with your content. We created a few blogs using HubSpot, and we were able to measure people's behavior that we sent out emails to on those sites. And then we started to be able to identify opportunities to interact with these folks who were visiting the site. Once I brought back all this data and showed them how we could use it to prospect, they began to see the value of it. So you had to start small and prove it out. This initial group that I worked with became champions for the whole firm and started to spread the message on my behalf. That all became very compelling. So when you have lawyers talking to other lawyers about things that are working for them, helping them grow their business, they sit up and take notice and listen. And then finally, I'll say my final thing is don't ask for too much too soon. Start small and develop a multi-year strategy. Think it through. Figure out what you can realistically bite off and buy and implement in a year's time. Stagger your investment of dollars and your internal resources over multiple years, and make sure everyone understands what you'll get each year for that investment that you're making, and then what builds upon that next level of investment. All right, as with any good presentation, we're going to leave you with some key takeaways. So make sure you're investing in the right technologies, CRM, ERM, marketing automation tools. Start to measure and report return on investment. At first, this will be very subjective, incidental, but eventually you'll have the numbers to prove it out to everyone. And then finally, making sure everyone in the firm is on board, whether it be social or with participating in digital, or developing your content strategy for your key clients. Make sure that everyone is involved in part of the process.
All right. Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks, Billy.
So I wanted to quickly touch on the upcoming InterAction Accelerate Business Development Summit. We've got several folks already registered for this with limited seats remaining. So if you haven't already, encourage you to visit LexisNexisAccelerate.com. There you can view the full agenda and see our terrific lineup of sessions and speakers and thought leaders that we have joining us later in June. So again, if you're a marketing and BD leader, encourage you to visit LexisNexisAccelerate.com, check out the agenda, and go ahead and register while we still have seats available. It is a free conference, and you'll see there the hotel rate at the beautiful Umstead Hotel and Spa right in Cary, North Carolina, just outside of Raleigh. All right, and with that said, here's the contact information for both Michelle and myself. Given that we're over by just a couple of minutes here, we certainly want to be respectful of your time. So we'll go ahead and wrap up today's webinar. However, if you do have additional questions, certainly feel free to reach out to Michelle or myself, and we'll do our best to get those answered just as quickly as possible. But certainly want to thank all of you for joining us today. And Michelle, thank you for a terrific presentation and for answering some of our top digital marketing questions. Hope everyone has a terrific rest of your day, and hope to see you on next month's Interact with InterAction webinar. Thank you.